It's almost too hard to fathom, but every 15 minutes someone in Australia disappears. For the families left behind, the anguish of not knowing what's happened to their loved one can be overwhelming. That's exactly what Lorrin Whitehead's 5 children are facing. 8 weeks ago, their 43-year-old mother left home and vanished without a trace. The police have no firm leads, there are no suspicious circumstances, and for Lorrin's kids, they just want to know if their mum is okay. It could be anywhere in Australia. 4 young kids playing in the water with their big sister watching on. Amelia is the eldest. Her sisters, Megan and Rachel, and brothers Arnold and Quade. He's just had his 9th birthday.
Handshake.
For these kids, typical after-school fun. Except there is something missing in this picture. The children's mother, Lorrin Whitehead, who vanished 2 months ago.
If Mum comes back, is she gonna come back to us?
What do you tell the little kids?
I just say, how much does Mum love you? How much does she love you? And they all say, yeah, a lot. I said, well, do you think someone that loves you that much would ever leave you? And they just say no. So it's hard to explain something like that to them.
She's only 20 years of age, but Amelia Kaiser is carrying an extraordinary burden.
Hi.
Amelia, how you
Morning.
going? How you going?
This nursing student is doing her best to reassure her brothers and sisters, as well as liaising with police. What sort of person is she?
Just amazing, really. Just selfless, giving, kind, just brave for everything she's been through. Sorry.
Whatever the reasons for Lorrin's disappearance, these are her last known movements. On the afternoon of Friday, February the 8th, here in the small town of Bannockburn, southwest of Melbourne. At 3:30 p.m, Lorrin visits the local ATM, withdrawing around $150. She then heads home and changes clothes before leaving the house for the last time. She leaves behind her mobile on the bedside table. Over here on the end of the bed, she leaves her handbag and her purse containing identification, credit cards, etc. And as if to prove that she really isn't planning to go anywhere, she also, on the dresser, leaves behind her life-saving insulin pens. She also leaves behind her car keys. Lorrin leaves the house, we presume, by the front door, which she closes behind her, and the fly screen door. But here's a curious thing. The family say she's a fanatic about locking up. In this case, she doesn't lock up at all, suggesting that she's planning to come back shortly. Then she walks in this direction down the garden path, never to return. So what do you think happened?
Well, she was then seen at the supermarket buying bits and pieces. After that, not a trace.
This CCTV vision shows Lorrin at the local supermarket just before 5 p.m. She buys a bottle of water, a card and a pen. It's the last confirmed sighting of Lorrin Whitehead.
There's a couple of things in her life which maybe she's just decided to walk away, but we'll keep looking.
Well, single mum, 5 kids.
Might have got too much for her.
Detective Senior Sergeant Ron Iddles is a 25-year hardened veteran of Victorian homicide and missing persons investigations. Is it strange when someone walks out of the house, leaves their purse behind with their identification, all the things they'd need to survive somewhere else, and their medication as well?
No, it's not strange.
You've seen it all before,
I've seen it all before, because they get themselves into a situation where they actually don't think straight.
What do you think about the police appraisal that there doesn't seem to have been any evil doing here?
I agree with the police that it doesn't look like there has been foul play. You know, that's certainly, like, fair enough, the door was open and just looks like she's gone out for a walk and forgot to tell someone, but...
And forgot to come back?
Unfortunately, yeah.
An astonishing 35,000 Australians go missing each year. Presumably, they must be all around us, unseen. After a time, the majority of them will re-emerge, returning home to their distressed families. But there still remains 1,600 people every year who will stay hidden in this shadow world.
Not a day, and not an hour, not a minute would go by where I don't think of Dan. He's always there, he's always with me. And everything I do with him in my mind. Never leaves you.
The O'Keeffes have been living without a treasured member of their family for nearly 2 years now. 25-year-old Daniel walked out the back door of his parents' home one cold morning on the 15th of July 2011.
Something that's really affected me is that my role of mother to a young man has gone. I don't have that anymore.
For his mum Lorraine, father Des, and his sisters, the anguish of not knowing if he's okay has been tormenting.
Dan was so much fun. He was so much fun to mother. And I just want to have that again. I want to feel those feelings again.
There's a gap in the structure. Pretty much that's what it is.
And you'd feel that as a father?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we still have the same get-togethers like Christmas and Easter and birthdays and things, but it's not quite the same. Well, it's not the same.
Good-looking and popular, the outgoing Dan O'Keeffe seemingly had the world at his feet.
Daniel and
Susie
here.
A loving girlfriend and family, a Pan-Pacific Jiu-Jitsu champion. He'd even started his own business.
Go, Dan!
Yet deep inside him, there was an inexplicable darkness. He was suffering from depression. It's something his older sister Lorrin knew all too well.
He was sad. He was just incomprehensibly sad. And I tried to reassure him that he was going to get through it. I mean, he was doing everything in his power to overcome the illness.
He was having therapy?
He was having therapy. He was taking the right medication.
But a few days before he disappeared, Dan stopped taking his medication. He left his parents' home that July morning and took nothing. No wallet, no keys, just his mobile phone, which was switched off and has remained so ever since. He skipped teaching an evening class at his gym. When Dan didn't show up at the home he shared with his girlfriend, everyone was worried.
Mum and Dad must have realised it was serious around 9 o'clock that evening. They called the police and Dan was registered as missing. And that's when, soon after then, I was informed of what was going on. And yeah, it was just a complete blur. I mean, it's a frantic time for the family to be in. And I mean, that urgency is still with me today at this very moment.
Hasn't changed at all.
Not at all. It's almost 2 years on.
Doesn't get easier?
No.
Doesn't get better? Like Dan, an estimated half of those who go missing suffer from a mental illness.
I think 50, 55% are mental health issues. people are on medication. You know, the normal statistics that 1 in 5 of us suffer from some depressive or anxiety issue. So
putting more coppers on the job, which of course the families of those who've gone missing think is the answer, isn't really.
I think we need to go back and work out what the cause is, and sometimes the cause is a mental illness, so we need to put more money there, and then we'd probably have less missing people.
When you reported to the police a disappearance, now they get this story all the time.
I guess they have their own prioritisation methods. Dan, being an adult male who went missing seemingly of his own volition, meant that there was no great urgency on their part.
Did you feel enough was being done?
Absolutely not.
While Lorrin Whitehead had no history of mental illness, she was certainly stressed from dealing with a marriage breakdown. You're studying nursing, you might recognise the symptoms of depression or stress.
Yes.
Did you see anything like that?
At times, but due to a marriage breakdown, that's quite common in anyone, and she was an awfully strong, brave person that, you know, just doting mother of 5. It was 5 of us.
4 of the kids are quite young.
Yes, very.
To you, would it have been unthinkable that she might have left them?
Very much so, yeah.
Coming up, an emotional appeal for a mother's return.
We all have things we want to tell her, and she's such a big, integral part of our lives.
And an extraordinary breakthrough.
I knew it was Dan.
The search for the missing, next on 60 Minutes.